Liberal Dan Radio presents
Fat Man Rants.
Kamala Harris announced her intention to run for president, and she's going to try and get the Democratic nomination. I will not be supporting her in the primaries, and I had a podcast about this back in August explaining my issues with Harris and why I don't think she would be a good choice for the Democratic ticket. You can go listen to that show. I'm going to give a link down in the comments to that podcast and to some of the other facts surrounding what I'm going to talk about here, just so you can not just hear it from me, but research it yourself afterwards. But I cannot support her for the nomination. And the main reason, and there are other reasons, but the main reason is the Daniel Larsen case. If you don't know, Daniel Larsen was sent to prison for a third term under the three strikes law in California, that third strike being that he was carrying a concealed weapon, a knife. When the cops first brought the case forward, they had testified that his shirt was tucked in. And the case was thrown out because it can't be concealed underneath the shirt if the shirt's tucked in. So they brought the case again. The cops changed their story and said that the shirt was untucked and therefore that was concealing the weapon that was thrown under the vehicle. Witnesses were not called. The attorney representing Larsen has since been disbarred from practicing law in the state of California. Larsen goes to prison for a while. Finally, the Innocence Project picks it up, goes and gets the witnesses that his previous attorney should have gotten. One of them being a former police chief who said that he saw somebody else holding the weapon and throwing the weapon underneath the vehicle. Another person who owned the knife, who admitted that it was his knife and not Larsen's knife. Now, the appeals in state court, they just kept on trying. They failed. So they filed for a writ of habeas corpus. Now, if you've watched Making a Murderer, you will see that Congress had set the bar for successfully being granted a writ of habeas corpus so high, ridiculously high, that in that show, Dassey was not granted that ability. He was not able to get the writ of habeas corpus. But Larsen was. That's key. The judge basically said he is factually innocent. It was not his knife. He could not have committed this crime. But for 2 years, he continued to sit in prison. Why? Because the Attorney General's office in California under Kamala Harris refused to let him go. They continued to fight. And one of the things that they fought, and one of the reasons that they gave, and this is the thing that pisses me off the most and why this is a Fat Man Rant, is that his paperwork was untimely. An innocent man, according to Kamala Harris, should sit and rot in jail because of untimely paperwork? Do you want her picking out a Justice Department? Do you want her in charge of the Department of Justice and appointing people below her who will be enacting those policies, including that innocent people should be rotting in jail because they failed to file paperwork on time? It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's the reason I can't get behind her. And then when I heard about that story, there are other stories as well that also make her questionable. Her going after truancy so hard in a way that disproportionately affects poor people. There was another case where there was a mishandling of evidence where that wasn't brought up. And you can read all of these stories in one of the links that I'm going to give below. But for any liberal, any progressive, to sit here and say, I don't care about that. I don't care about her wanting to have an innocent person rot in jail for years and fight them being removed from jail, even though a federal judge says, hey, he needs to go out of jail, simply because his paperwork was untimely. That's frightening. It's frightening anybody who is worried about changing and improving our system of criminal justice in this country. Now, I have some other rants left for some of you other people, and I'm saving them for last, because there are some people out there there are plenty of reasons to oppose Harris. Birtherism is not one. She was born in this country. Stop it. That makes her a natural-born citizen. And anything that happened sexually with her, that was a consented-to relationship, let the Republicans be hypocrites on that. That's their job, to be hypocrites on that. And they've elected a president who has set the bar so low on sexual morality that they supposedly stand for, that there is no way that they should ever be able to make an effective argument about anybody else's sexual morality. Leave that crap to them. Don't attack her because she had sex. That's ridiculous. So I'm ranting against y'all too. Because if you come at Kamala Harris wrong in a sexist way or in a birther way, or a racist, xenophobic way, I'm going to come at you too. But every time people claim support for Kamala Harris, and they say, hey, I'm fully supporting Kamala Harris for president as the Democratic candidate, nope. I'm going to post this video to them. I'm going to give them the links. It's going to be probably the thing that I share the most in the upcoming elections. Why? Because it's that important. We need to make sure to get this right. And a Department of Justice under Kamala Harris absolutely frightens me. Now, if she gets the nomination and she's running against President Trump, do I believe President Trump's Department of Justice will be better? Absolutely not. And I will be supportive of the campaign at that point. But we haven't reached that point yet. Every single candidate who declares their candidacy for the office of presidency, who wants to try and get the Democratic nomination, needs to be looked at. And we need to pick the absolute best. And her actions as Attorney General of California should prove to anybody who claims to be a liberal or a progressive or anywhere on the left that she is not the candidate for us.